welcome to your Macon-Bibb Beat, your one-stop shop for all your Macon-Bibb County news. I'm Lori Johnson. Each week, we're taking you through what's happening in your neighborhood, from North Macon to South Bibb and everywhere in between. Did you know 100 years ago, Delta Airlines took off for the first time right here in Macon? The airline's roots trace back to central Georgia, where they first took to the skies as Huff the Land Dusters.
You had cotton fields, you had pecan orchards, peach orchards. Dusting peaches was actually the first business that they did. And Macon was also ideal because the airfield that was there. They had looked at Atlanta, they had looked at Athens, but at the time, Macon had the best airfield in Georgia.
During this month in 1925, the company was incorporated. Delta archivist Marie Force says they had 18 planes and 30 people, a far cry from the airline's current fleet.
It's really amazing when you think about how far Delta has come in those 100 years. And that Macon was the start of that with the headquarters here.
The company's headquarters was located downtown and operated out of a hangar at Camp Wheeler, an old World War II base in East Macon. After a year, they moved to Louisiana to be more central to their client base. Voters across central Georgia are casting their ballots this week in local elections. Macon-Bibb leaders are counting on voters to decide whether to renew a penny sales tax, totaling $450 million. It would fund projects over the next 10 years. Maggie Fitzgerald spoke with the Board of Election Supervisor and shares more about voter turnout.
More than 700 people have cast their vote for a renewed SPLOST in Macon-Bibb County so far, just 1 week into early voting. Election Supervisor Tom Gillen says turnout has been slow, a similar trend to what he's seen in years past.
Slow but steady. At least keep that trend, and we'll end stronger than we started.
According to a study conducted by the Georgia Institute of Technology, 71.4% of the SPLOST is paid for by the people traveling to and through Macon-Bibb County.
That 1 penny sales tax is not burden on just the taxpayers here in Macon. 71% comes from outside of our area.
However, it's up to Macon-Bibb residents to determine whether the SPLOST will be renewed for the next decade.
SPLOST elections that we anticipate about a 10% turnout, which isn't great. We would love to have people come in to vote for this one just like they would a presidential election.
The county only saw a 10% voter turnout for their last special election for the OLOST in 2021.
It's the most reasonable way to pay for large capital improvements and economic development in our community. We couldn't begin to purchase all the fire trucks we needed, the sheriff deputy cars, the 911 system. We couldn't do that on our tax base alone, property owners, and they would be unduly burdened.
Election Supervisor Tom Gillen says 707 people showed up to the polls for their first week of early voting so far.
If you are a registered voter, we encourage you to vote at every election, whether it's a small one like this or the biggest ones. So we still have this week and next week for early voting.
Early voting will continue here at the Macon Mall and at the Elaine Lucas Center through March 14th. Election Day is set for March 18th. In Macon, Maggie Fitzgerald, 13 WMAZ News.
The polls are open from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. through March 7th at the Macon Mall and the Elaine Lucas Senior Center. People will also be able to vote Saturday, March 8th from 9 to 5. You have until the 7th to request an absentee ballot. Macon-Bibb County leaders shared how local efforts could be leading to a drop in deadly crime. The county says homicides have dropped 45% since 2022. Maggie Fitzgerald talked with Macon Violence Prevention Coordinator Jeremy Grissom about what these new numbers mean for his group's goals.
The investment is working, and public safety is our top priority.
A multi-million-dollar investment since its launch in 2021. Macon Violence Prevention supports community groups promoting mentorship, mental health counseling, and anti-violence initiatives.
When I first started, I was, doing mentorship at the libraries or, wherever there was space, at coffee shops. I would do one-on-one mentorship.
Groups like Girls Dig Deeper. Founder Najiva Timothy received a $15,000 grant last year.
Having the funding and expanding the program, I'm able to hold bigger classes and things like that where I can be able to reach more young people and reach more youth.
Youth homicides dropped from 15 to 2 in the past 2 years. Leaders including District Attorney Anita Howard and Sheriff David Davis give a nod to ShotSpotter technology for solving more homicide cases.
It's been a phenomenal tool for us, and we're also looking at expanding or either altering the footprint.
While the overall rate has dropped in recent years, the number of homicides still stand at a higher number than pre-pandemic rates. According to Coroner Leon Jones, Bibb County saw an average of 29 killings per year from 2015 to 2019. But MVP coordinator Jeremy Grissom says it takes a team to tackle these issues.
We're a united community in attacking the issues at hand, right? And that's, again, public safety. That's mentorship. That's making sure that our kids know that we're just as involved as they are in trying to make it a safe place.
And so far, MVP and the Community Foundation has awarded more than $2.5 million to 40 anti-violence groups. Grissom tells me they plan to continue with their fourth cycle of grants later this year. In Macon, Maggie Fitzgerald, 13 WMAZ News.
The Community Foundation is also hosting an On the Table series this week across Central Georgia. You can find group locations at onthetablecentralga.com. Just 3 days before a state deadline, Macon-Bibb commissioners voted to opt out of House Bill 581. That's the Save Our Homes Act, which allows local governments to limit increases in property tax assessments. Maggie Fitzgerald was there as the commissioners took their vote.
The county was required to hold 3 hearings before making their decision, but only 3 people from the community shared their opinions. On Tuesday, former Commissioner Elaine Lucas and former Mayor Robert Rickert supported opting out of the bill. And today, Bibb County GOP Chairman David Sumrall urged the commission to find other ways to give property tax relief before saying no to the bill.
People, bottom line came down to, do we want to cut property taxes? And I think that's what people were voting for.
Some commissioners shared confusion with the wording of the amendment written on the 2024 ballot.
Most municipalities are opting out of this measure. It's vaguely written, so anytime something that you can't really quite explain it and understand it, you got to back away from it. And I think we did the right thing today by doing that.
District 6 Commissioner Raymond Wilder, who opposed opting out, was one of them.
I made the mistake that I give my word up front that I would vote against opting out. The more I've learned, the more I've seen, it's going to be good for Bibb County either way.
And now another option on the table proposed by Mayor Miller, an alternative local homestead exemption specifically for senior residents. Sumrall says it's a good idea.
A fixed income in many ways, but their property taxes continue to go up, and so they have difficulty staying in the home that they may have lived in for decades.
And a majority of commissioners indicated early support too.
They need some assistance, so that's something we can do locally and not have the state dictate to how we do it and how long we do it.
In Macon, Maggie Fitzgerald, 13 WMAZ News.
Mayor Miller says that custom exemption would be for property owners 65 and older. He says the commission plans to work with the legislative delegation to create it. The jobs of many federal workers continue to hang in the balance. That includes thousands of workers at national parks reportedly facing layoffs. Camila Williams explains how the possible cuts could affect workers at Macon's Ocmulgee Mounds.
The Ocmulgee Mounds National Historical Park is filled with history.
The mother ground of one of the largest ancient civilizations in the American South.
And brings many people to take part in events, or just to look.
We're going to go see the solar eclipse today here.
But federal layoffs could make it harder to staff public events. Seth Clark with the Ocmulgee Mounds Initiative says there's no connection between the group's efforts to expand the park and the possible layoffs. After progress in 2024, he is still optimistic about the park being the 64th national park in America. Clark expects a new bill will be filed this year.
We had a unanimous vote of support out of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. We had a successful hearing in the House Natural Resources Subcommittee on Federal Lands, and so we've started the 119th Congress in a great posture.
According to the National Park Service, around 1,000 employees were laid off just before the start of the busy season. We did reach out to the mounds to ask about whether they've been affected. Robin Barker with the Ocmulgee Mounds National Historical Park sent a statement saying, in part, we will be able to respond once we have more information available to share. Clark says Georgia's congressional delegation will make sure the expansion goes through.
But when you look at who is representing this area where we are going to create the 64th National Park, that division does not exist. Austin Scott is a Republican, Sanford Bishop is a Democrat, and they are working arm in arm to take care of Middle Georgia and redesignate this park.
He hopes the park will grow and people will be here to share the park's unique history. In Macon, Camila Williams, 13 WMAZ News.
We also reached out to the National Park Service for comment on pending layoffs. They did not respond. You may have noticed some new street signs around downtown Macon. Visit Macon says more than 100 signs will be installed on downtown stoplights. Each sign features the name of the street and the translation of the word and the language of the Muskogee Creek Nation. Tracy Rivas, Director for Advocacy for Okmulgee National Park, says they got the idea from similar signs in Oklahoma and want to help honor the Muskogee Nation's history here in Central Georgia.
It's important for folks to realize that there was another story here in Macon before Macon existed. And so there's a lot of stories here in these lands, and the land is older than all of us, and it can withhold all of our stories. So we don't need to ignore these stories and this history that's been here.
Those signs have already been installed on a few streets downtown. Rivas says once those installations are complete, they will add more signs in the alleys. People who live at a Macon apartment complex are sounding the alarm about a stinky situation. Neighbors at Old English Apartments off Vineville Avenue say after months of dealing with a sewage leak, it just got fixed. They say the owners couldn't fix the issue, so they took matters into their own hands. Jasmine Lee went to the apartments to hear how the problem got solved.
The smell just was tremendously awful.
A months-long issue for Sonia Nichols and her neighbors finally resolved, but not without its challenges.
So I've been here since November of 2024, and it was a sewage spill.
Nichols, along with her neighbors, made several complaints to the property owners, but they didn't get a response.
The health-wise, breathing in this sewer waste that goes into our lungs.
Nichols reached out to code enforcement and the health department, which resulted in the issue being fixed.
And right here is where that sewage spill was leaking, wrapping around this building. Residents tell me that the county came out Tuesday to fix this problem, but that comes months after breathing in toxic air. The county code enforcement says in this situation, you should contact the health department.
While the spill is fixed, people in the area, including Hope Evans, are now worried about their lease. They say the property owners are not accepting their rent after they spoke up about the ongoing issues.
They put it on the doors, our money orders, not accepting nothing. You can't barely talk to them because the office closed when you go. But I've been reporting this since I moved in.
Evans said when she noticed the sewage leak, she also found a water leak in her home that caused mold to spread, something property owners have yet to fix.
My mom, she's old and she's sick. My son, he stayed there. He had got like a bad skin infection where he had to get treated for the things that they don't want to fix.
Nichols says she will be taking the complex to court because no one deserves to be evicted for speaking up on issues that caused problems in their life. Reporting in Macon, Jasmine Lee, 13 WMAZ News.
Jasmine reached out to the Old English Apartment Complex. They declined to talk to us for this story. But folks at the Old English Apartments aren't the only ones with housing hardships. A Macon complex formerly known as Crystal Lake Apartments is still fielding complaints. Macon-Bibb County shut it down 5 years ago due to health and safety violations. Now they're under new ownership and they go by Lakeside Reserve. Jasmine Lee talked with tenants who share why they believe the problems go beyond a name change.
People just move in and move right back out.
At the Lakeside Reserve Apartments, people like Mary Harden are fed up with ongoing issues that make their homes unlivable.
We got to replace that. He never did come back.
Harden shares her frustration with her neighbors. She says the apartments have become a revolving door even after the complex got new ownership and a new name. Right now, she's living without heat, but is still getting high bills from Georgia Power.
In my whole life, I ain't held a bill that high. You know what I'm saying? There was something wrong somewhere. And I had went up to our office and they told me I need to talk to Georgia Power, but they don't have nothing to do with it.
In our previous reports, we found dozens of code violations at those apartments between 2017 and 2019. Now, tenants like Andrea Griffin believe the new management rushed to open without fixing major problems, leaving renters to deal with the conditions.
This place wasn't ready to be opened up. They really opened it up prematurely. It seems like they're basically trying to get money from the apartment complex so they can fill a debt.
Other tenants, including Griffin, have witnessed mold in their homes and broken flooring.
And just behind me is the leasing office. I did call up here 2 times today and have yet to receive a call back. Now, I did speak to a lady named Sherry. She declined to give me her last name, but she did mention that tenants are not staying in unlivable conditions. She said at this time, corporate will be willing to meet with us at a later date.
Tenants tell me that the frustration has turned into anger. They tell me their next steps involve reaching out to the corporate management. Reporting in Macon, Jasmine Lee, 13 WMAZ News.
Several tenants at the complex told Jasmine local management does not seem to have an urgency to fix the problems. Jasmine has planned to contact the property owners again to give them a chance to comment for the story. Change is almost never easy, and some parents at Macon's Alexander II Elementary want to know why the Bibb School Board decided to make a big one. The board last month voted against Superintendent Dan Sims' recommendation to renew contracts for the school's principal and vice principal. Naomi Washington spoke to parents who say the news feels sudden and shocking.
Take a look.
All those in favor of PS 5.3, please signify by saying aye.
This is the moment the Bibb County Board of Education voted.
Opposed, nay? No. Nay.
6 members voted against renewing contracts for Alexander II Elementary Principal Angel Woodard and Vice Principal Meredith Bird. Just 2 were in favor. Now, Rosia Garcia says she found out through a letter sent home in her child's backpack.
And it just reads as if our leaders, Dr. Bird and Mrs. Woodard, have chosen to resign and step down from their positions.
Nadia Sfavar says explaining this to her 2nd grade daughter was tough.
She immediately said, no, why? Why would they leave? And it's heartbreaking to try to explain that to them because they have such a good rapport with the kids.
Parent Sean Buick feels confused because the board voted against Superintendent Dan Sims' recommendation to keep them.
Alexander II has always been a great school and in recent years has, by any metric, outperformed most of the other schools in both the county and the state.
Parent Jessica Vance says parents plan to protest this Friday and then go before the board next month. She hopes they'll find out why this is happening.
They work so well with the kids and they do so much, and I just need to understand why. And I'd really like them to reconsider and take in the public input, especially the Alexander II input.
We could see it in their faces. We could see it in our leaders' faces. We see it in the children every day. They're not taking this easy. Yes. Sorry.
Principal Woodard and Vice Principal Bird will finish out this school year in their positions. Their roles will be filled next year, but parents say they aren't going to stop until they get answers. They've started a change.org petition and plan to peacefully protest outside the board office downtown Friday. We know the site of Mercer's new proposed School of Medicine. It will be off Riverside Drive and Spring Street next to the Burger King near downtown Macon. The Urban Development Authority signed the deal to sell Mercer the site for nearly $2 million. Mercer recently confirmed they were looking for a new Macon site to replace the small 40-year-old building they now use. Mercer leaders told us they expect the project will cost up to $75 million. Piedmont Macon honored a community hero, Brenda Lambert. Lambert launched the Backpack Ministry 14 years ago. It provides food to nearly 3,000 students across 3 counties each weekend. She's also an original member of the United in Pink Board of Directors and a breast cancer survivor. Piedmont Macon created the award in 2023 to honor people making a difference in Central Georgia.
Oh, I am very, very honored. I'm very humbled, put it that way, because children have always been my heart, and I'm just very overwhelmed that so many people would just come out to say thank you.
Lambert received $500 from Piedmont Macon to put toward a charity of her choice. She chose the Backpack Ministry. That's the final note in this week's edition of the Macon-Bibb Beat. If you have a Macon-Bibb County story you want to share with us, email us at news@13wmaz.com, and make sure to come back each Wednesday to get all the news and stories that matter to you. And thank you for joining us for your Macon-Bibb County Beat.